Hi, let's discuss today about the measuring instruments. So, measuring instruments. So, measuring instruments. Before going to measuring instruments, you all know what is meant by measurement. To measure. So, everything in this universe will have some measurement. That is, if you want to measure your weight, it is a person, for example me, weight, height, okay, like that every person will have some measurements. So if you want to measure a milk, you will measure in liters. If you want to measure a length, it will be measured, for example cloth length, it will be measured in meters, this many meters, example. If you want to measure some distance from one village to another village, or one town to another town, one city to another city, you will be measured in kilometers. Is it right? So some measurement is needed. In the same manner, in our electrical and electronics engineering, that is electrical and electronics engineering also will have measurements. What we will measure in electrical and electronic engineering, in the sense we will measure current, voltage will be measured, power will be measured, energy is going to be measured, and also we are going to measure the power factor is also going to be measured, and we are also going to measure the waveforms. So waveforms is also going to be measured by using CROs. Okay, we will measure the current, voltage, power, energy, power factor, waveforms and waveform length. All these can be measured, and also we can measure some of the parameters like resistance, inductance and capacitance. All these can be measured. Resistance, inductance, capacitance. Again in resistance, if it is having the low resistance, medium resistance, high resistance, like that different ways. And to measure the resistance, we have different methods. What are the methods to measure this resistance? We will measure all these things by using the electrical and electronic instruments. So some instruments are being used, and that instruments will measure. So in majorly in our measuring instrument subject, we will study the measurement of current, voltage, power, energy, power factor, waveforms, resistance, inductance and capacitance. That's all. And how these are being measured will be discussed in deeply. So basically, how many types of supplies are there for us? Two types of supplies. One is AC supply and another one is DC supply. You all know. Okay? Again, AC supply is having two types. One is single phase supply and another one is three phase supply. You will measure single phase energy, three phase energy by using single phase energy meter, three phase energy meter. You will have some separate instruments for measurement of only DC. So that is only DC measurement, and you will have only separate instrument to measure only AC supply. Separate instruments for AC, and there will be some instruments which we can measure both the AC and DC supplies. Okay, you can measure the AC current and DC current. Some type of instruments will be there. We will be discussing such a kind of instruments. Only DC instruments, only AC instruments, combination of AC and DC instruments which we can measure is also discussed right now. Okay, so here the main concept is this. This is the main concept of measuring instruments. So to measure an current, we use ammeter. So these ammeters, two types. One is AC type or DC type. Only AC measurement of ammeter, or only DC measurement of ammeter, or both the AC and DC measurement of ammeters can be there. To measure the voltage, you use the voltmeter. To measure the power, you use the wattmeter. So to measure the energy, you use the energy meter, power factor meter. Okay. To measure the waveforms, we use the CROs. To measure the resistance, we have different methods. One is by using the ohm meter, or by using the voltmeter ammeter method, or by using the potentiometer type of method, or by using the Kelvin's bridge method or Wheatstone bridge method. Such a way there is a lot of things to measure the inductance. We have different Henry bridge, we have different capacitors, carrying speeds, like the different measurements. We can measure the capacitance, inductance in different modes and different measurements. So if you want to measure the high current which is passing in the transmission line, you have to take some help. So that is nothing but CTs and PTs. So to measure the current which is high current, thousands of amperes which is flowing in the long transmission lines, you will be using with the help of CTs. With the help of PTs, you will be going to measure the voltages. Okay, this, and you are also using this supply from output of CTs and PTs for relays connections also. So relays is the different topics which comes under the power system protection. So I am mainly concentrating on the measuring instruments, and I am going to discuss it right now. Okay, so these are the things which will be discussed in measuring instruments. Before going to these things, we have two types of measuring instruments. See, this is the introduction what I have been said right now. So this is the introduction, and you will be seeing different types of introduction in your textbooks. That is, in starting itself they are giving that absolute instrument, that is secondary instrument, primary instrument. These are all unnecessary matters for us. So those are also important, but this is the basic introduction for the measuring instruments. What the students has to know. Students has to know what the subject in the measuring instruments. But before starting the subject itself, if you go to absolute instrument, secondary instrument, students will not go through the concentration on the subject of measuring instruments. So my introduction will be different, my teaching will be different, and totally different. I will be give within a short period of time all the subject, I hope, and it is not 100% what I am saying. It's just I am giving only 10 to 15% of the electrical engineering subject, but to more knowledge on electrical engineering subject, you better to study the standard textbooks and also some prescribed materials which is standard materials like B.L. Taraja, J.B. Gupta. Such a kind of material is also very important, and this is just what I am giving is a just somewhat little bit useful for you. Watching my videos is little bit useful for you to improve your electrical engineering knowledge. That's all. But it is not the final subject what I am giving. Okay, textbooks are very basic things. So if you discuss it in such a way, they will be going on. Okay. So see, instruments are of two types. One is absolute instrument. So one is secondary instruments. What is meant by absolute instrument? So if you want to measure ml, you will be measured in liters. What is the standard measurement of your liter? 1 liter is the standard measurement. So 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter. For example, in rupees, if you want to measure the Indian currency, our Indian currency, it is in rupees. So basic unit of rupees is 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 3 rupee. So that's a way. In such a way, there is absolutely a standardization. This is also called as standard instruments. Standard instruments. They will give some standardizations. So 1 ampere means this is the standardization given by the standard. So secondary instruments are nothing but all the manufacturers who are being producing in the market of ammeters, voltmeters, wattmeters. These are all comes under the secondary instruments. So these instruments which we will be using in our daily life are the secondary instruments. These secondary instruments are designed by using these absolute instruments or primary instruments. These primary instruments are nothing but the standard instruments. By the help of these standard instruments, we are going to manufacture the secondary instruments or daily used instruments like ammeter, voltmeter, wattmeter. So these meters are being designed based on using the standard measurements. So one thing I wanted to say, one thing, anything in this universe is made, there will be one basic ideal thing. So our basic idea, that basic idea is going to be implemented. If you are going to implement that basic idea, 100% you cannot implement. There will be some sort of lessness or some sort of errors. So similarly, the errors will be there in the ammeters, voltmeters and wattmeters comparatively with the absolute instruments. So there is a difference in the values of absolute instruments and secondary instruments. The values of difference between the absolute instruments and secondary instruments is nothing but the error. This is very important. Error. These errors are different types of errors. If there is a occurring of error by our observational, so this is also one type of error, that is observational error. Whatever you are going to observe, so if you observe the wrong reading, so that is nothing but your observational error. If there is a error due to the slow movement of pointer, that is one type of error. So if the pointer is not stopped and go on oscillating, that is one type of error. Errors of different types. Errors cannot be say only this is the error, only there is no limits for error. But what is meant by limiting error? Very important. Limiting error. So limiting error is nothing but, what is meant by limiting error? Limiting error is nothing but measured value into your percentage of accuracy into full scale deflection. So this is the limiting error form. So lot of errors are there. I will be discussing on errors only one video, and like that there is this thing. So this is what I am giving is a just introductory thing. So to measure only voltage, there is one instrument. To measure only voltage, we have one instrument. So to measure the capacitance, I have discussed right. Okay. This is just introduction of measuring instruments. What I am going to tell you. Okay. Thank you. Please subscribe my channel. It is a different subject is going to be given in this channel. Okay. I am signing out. Bye.